Professor Abhijit Banerjee, welcome to Jab We Met.
Thank you.
We're at Jawaharlal Nehru University, your alma mater, and you're coming back for the first time after winning the big Nobel Prize for Economics. Congratulations and welcome back home.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So what did Jawaharlal Nehru University do for you in your academic life?
I think it did a lot for me. In particular, I think it taught me a lot about what India was. I think that's a great thing about a place like Jawaharlal Nehru University, which is structured to attract a very diverse set of people from all over India. And I made friends from, people who were scheduled tribes from Andhra Pradesh. In Bengal, basically, we were at Presidency College, we were a bunch of upper caste Bengalis mostly, and it was very homogeneous. Here it was just everybody was here. It was great. It was great to meet people who had extremely different life experiences from mine. And you get a sense of how important caste is.
So you started your postgrad from here. You've gone on to win the biggest prize in economics in the world, the Nobel. Has that sunk in fully? How has life changed after becoming a Nobel Prize winner?
What's happened right now is I know that anything I say people will actually listen to, so I've decided to be somewhat more, let's say, careful with what I say, since I'm given to shooting my mouth.
When you were studying at Presidency or at the Jawaharlal Nehru University or at Harvard University, was winning a Nobel ever at the back of your mind? This is something that you're working towards?
100,000 people doing good work, and then you get a bunch of combination of luck and being at the right place at the right time and a few little breaks, and then maybe you end up with something like this. In Bangla we have this expression, berale bhagge shike chheda, which means the food that's been put up hung up, this ropes tear and the food falls down and the cat gets to eat it.
This is the first time you're coming back to the Jawaharlal Nehru University after winning your Nobel, and the JNU has been in so much controversy, considered as it is now by the current government as the fountainhead of the Tukde Tukde gang. And I was seeing some of your past readings and statements. That's something that upset you very dearly.
Yeah, partly because I think it's unfair. I think Nirmala Sitharaman was a friend of mine. She was at JNU, my contemporary.
At the same time?
Yeah, very pleasant person, very proper, intelligent, and I don't think her political views were dramatically different from mine. These were all contemporaries. Nirmala Sitharaman, Yogendra Yadav, me, we were all, and other people of other political views were all there, and we evolved. We all had different views.
Your Nobel has put the government at a bit of a odd kind of place, because you're of Indian origin. While they'd love to wave the tricolour and take ownership and possession, they also look at your past pronouncements and say, hey, here's somebody who's been rather critical of this government.
I think they should go back and read my pronouncements on the previous government. I think of, and one of the jobs of an academic or an intellectual is to be critical of authority. If they only get kudos, you'll never get change. So, I think of this as being, I was extremely critical of many things that the previous government did. I have no particular brief for bad policies in the world. What's extremely important is our right to be articulate, critical, constructive.
Has anybody in the government called you to congratulate you after your Nobel?
Absolutely, not called me, but...
no, forget the tweets. Has anybody made a personal call?
No, nobody's made a personal call. I don't expect people to do that. There are plenty of better things to do.
No, but Nirmala, as a contemporary, she could have called. She knows you from university.
She did tweet right away. So I'm going to take that as an endorsement. I think the attempt to politicize is, in general, everything is the game the media plays, and I want to resist that. What I really want is the country to sort of accept the value of professionalism.
Your Nobel Prize for Economics is an opportunity to relook at all your work and draw on ideas and apply them to India's current economic challenges. What do you think of the current economic slowdown? Why do you think growth in India is down to 5%? And what, according to you, could be a potential roadmap for recovery?
It looks very much like we are in a Keynesian downspin. meaning there's not enough demand, poor people aren't buying. So if I had to pick one thing the government should do, is I think put cash in the hands of the poor. I think a bunch of money in the hands of low-income people, I think will start up a demand so that the biscuit companies won't start closing. The biscuit companies closing is a really bad sign.
The challenge is to ensure that more cash is available, and some of the policy measures we've seen from the government have been the wrong ones. For example, they've slashed corporate taxes, which is welcome ordinarily, but there was a Credit Suisse report which said that 90% of the companies will sit on their cash because they don't see the need to invest further in the economic cycle at this time. Do you think they're approaching the wrong end of the problem?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think the government, actually, I was about to praise the government for having raised corporate taxes, which is something I've been in favor of for a long time, when they took it down. I was about to write an op-ed saying the government should not cut corporate taxes. They should have used the same money for, I think if you had to increase the deficit, which is what this did, I think they could have, roughly the corporate tax cut, I think, the amount of money that was transferred is about twice what NREGA spends.
But the Prime Minister is on record as having called the Manrega a monumental failure of the Manmohan Singh government.
We can call it whatever we want, okay? But I tend to think handouts are just fine. If you look at what happened after the NREGA, one of the things it was a boom. It was a boom created by people spending. And the industry cares about both sides. They want low wages, but they also want high demand.
Okay, so you don't like the reduction of corporate taxes, which your contemporary Nirmala Sitharaman rolled out with much fanfare. What, according to you,
she rolled out the opposite first. Let me actually insist on that. The smart thing the government had done, this government had done, was to raise corporate taxes. I was in a bunch of interviews where there were other people from the corporate sector arguing vehemently that unless you give us a tax cut, we are going to all commit suicide or something. And this kind of pressure they should have ignored.
You think they came under corporate pressure?
Yeah. Huge.
What do you think Nirmala Sitharaman and Narendra Modi should be doing to try and fix the slowdown? How much of this is a Modi-made or a man-made economic problem? How much of it, according to you, is because of global factors?
I don't think the first order, the immediate slowdown is, anybody has that much control over or foresight. I don't want to blame any individual for it. But I do think this slowdown is a result of the fact that the government has systematically taken policies which, for example, have moved terms of trade against agriculture. Import prices are prices at which the government buys crops. If government buys rice and wheat, if those prices don't go up, the farmers hurt. And they were hurting, they were complaining. Clearly they weren't so unhappy that they didn't vote against the government, but they were hurting for sure.
We're currently, sir, at the School of Social Sciences. This is where you studied economics. You must have been a fantastic student. I was reading somewhere that you set like a JNU record for how many A pluses you got back in college.
I don't know why anybody.
One of your contemporaries wrote that in an editorial.
He may or may not be right, but I was a good student. I was a fine student.
Have you thought if you weren't an economist, what would you be doing?
I might have been a journalist. I like the space you are in, which is, thinking about politics, thinking about economics, asking questions. So, it would have been a reasonable alternative plan.
Do you think a big move like demonetization also should have been evaluated more deeply? Some efforts made to determine what the response from the citizens would have been?
There is lots of kind of collected wisdom on that, and the sort of people understand liquidity well. I think they understand what happens when suddenly I don't have cash, so I don't pay you. You don't have cash, so you don't pay Disha. Disha doesn't have cash, she doesn't pay someone else. So you have a cascading effect on demand. That's one of the.
How much of India's current economic woes do you believe are on account of that one move in 2016?
There's too many things that have happened, and I can't apportion them. I think anybody who does will is just making up stuff.
The government thinks that this is a one-time reset of economic values, that black money is not okay, not paying taxes is not okay. It's like a injection that you've put into the economy.
I guess I don't know that it fixed the economy. I don't know that it was conceived well to fix black money. I think it underestimated how creative people were in, kind of finding ways to legitimize their cash. I think they were right in thinking that the people were sitting on a lot of cash, but they didn't. The Indian spirit is very entrepreneurial, let's say. They found very creative ways. This is sort of was my instinct from day one. Maybe it frightened people a little bit, but yeah, it's the kind of thing that I don't feel will. I think it more convinced me that it's a very difficult thing to pull off.
After you won the Nobel, we saw the Congress party do a press conference using your shoulder to attack the Modi government and say, see, Rahul Gandhi takes advice from the likes of Abhijit Banerjee, you guys believe in voodoo economics. So you've been put squarely in the center of the big political economy debate in India.
The Congress party, I think, asked me for some, numbers on, how much would this cost.
Yeah.
And I gave them the numbers. If the BJP had asked me for the numbers, I would have given them the numbers. Indeed, I think of myself as being first a professional, before anything else, any of my political views. I think of myself as a professional.
So you're saying if the government of Prime Minister Modi, post your Nobel Prize for Economics, were to reach out to you and say, Professor Banerjee, we need some help, tell us what should we do, you'd be willing to offer them advice as well, you're ideologically neutral.
I'm not ideologically neutral. Those are separate questions. I'm first and foremost a professional. I believe that my job is to get for the country to do well. If as a I would value the country doing well over, particular political biases of mine getting favored.
The last time I was walking around Jawaharlal Nehru University campus was when I was interviewing Kanhaiya Kumar, who was locked up in Tihar, and you spoke out in his favor.
I think that it's enormously important that we create a space for dissent. I learned in JNU is that the space for dissent, authority doesn't like dissent. I was sent to Tihar jail.
How did a Nobel Prize winner end up in Tihar jail?
Because the JNU administration at that point decided that it was going to be, I think, to curry favor with Mrs. Gandhi. So they expelled the JNU Students' Union president. Once you expel the president of the union, you have basically made student democracy impossible. So we decided to go on, we get out the vice chancellor, and police came. Mrs. Gandhi sent in troops and picked us up and threw us in jail.
You were in Tihar for 10 days?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was fun. I was hanging out with a bunch of my friends.
You must be the first person from Tihar to win a Nobel.
I don't know. You have to do the, I suspect you're right, but I don't, haven't been actually taking the accounts.
What I found very interesting, Professor Banerjee, is that all your friends said that you weren't the typical padhaku kida. Like while you did really well in class, you were hanging out in cafeterias and not always in the library and the classroom as well.
Yeah, in particular, I spent enormous amount of time in this cafeteria.
The library canteen?
Yeah, because the library was after about half an hour, you get bored, so you have to do something. So I drank any amount of vile tea here.
Your brother gave an interview in which he said that, I don't know anything about his economics, but what I do know is that he's a master chef. Can you, are you really good at cooking?
Yeah, I'm good at cooking. for 2 hours every day.
Really?
Yeah, it's what gives me. I mean, I have my kids do it with me so that they also spend time with me. It's like my whole family treats it as the game I play every day.
I hold this treasure and we'll have a couple of uttapams to go, please.
Oh wow,
It's nice. Thank you, sir.
Not bad. Thank you.
Say hello.
Thank you.
There is a bit of that. There are lots of these students who've been
Hello.
waiting to say hello to you.
Welcome to JNU, sir.
Thank you. I made eggs in your canteen.
Yes. How many of you have read Professor Banerjee's book? See, this is
See, this is why I'm not selling enough books.
the good thing though is after the Nobel that could change. How many of you now want to read his books? See, so your publisher is going to be.
Yes, here's a new book.
There you go. Now you're doing a Shah Rukh Khan. Huh? He's doing a Shah Rukh Khan. He's figured go publicize. Like, thank you very much. Most economists, especially highly trained economists,
Like Uttapam? No.
like to work with big international banks, rake in the moolah. What attracted you towards development economics and poverty?
Well, I don't think that's actually true. I think that if you are, I mean, I know this from the other side. Let's say, I mean, most people who are the more successful students who were the most successful students with me at Harvard or at my students at MIT, the most successful ones want to be academics.
It's time now to test these eggs.
Yeah.
You offer, we get to sample the master chef in you. Even though this was under highly restricted lab conditions.
duress, yes. This is master chef conditions.
Very nice. We actually whipped it up very quickly with very limited ingredients, no notice, and it tastes nice.
You're doing a credible job of eating it.
There are critics of the model of the randomized control test that you propagate who say that RCTs don't really prove anything.
No, I think they're not saying. I think that the control and the treatment samples are not comparable. I think that's by when you randomize, you make sure they're comparable. I think they're saying, but what about you did this in UP? What about if you went to Bihar? Bihar is different. Yeah, answer is it's true, but I mean, it's less true than you think it is, because in some ways I think we also know that that the same thing has been tried in many places and we found the same thing. So it is not that we just did one, sat on our laurels.
How does life change for you after the biggest global honor in economics? What do you hope to do in the years that are ahead of you, which is different from what you've done so far, the body of work that you've built?
Not much really. I think I'm very happy with what I do. I enjoyed it very much. And I think that this gives us an opportunity to do more, because more people will listen to us, maybe, we hope. So I'm all for the view that this is our opportunity to do much more than we've been doing. Open doors.
I'm curious to know, Professor Banerjee, when you're not teaching economics and when you're not cooking, what is it that you do?
Oh, I play racket sports. I play tennis, badminton, ping pong.
I hear you're a very good ping pong player. So you want
I think
to
I'm
see...
decent, but we need a player to play.
Come, I'll play with you.
Okay.
So what, according to you, sir, is the key to success? There's so many students here elsewhere who are watching, who'd like to follow in your footsteps, what's the life gyan that you can give them?
Or do what you want to do.
What did you make of the entire storm around your better half, Professor Duflo, who also won a Nobel at the same time? And a lot of the media in India said, Professor Banerjee and his wife win the Nobel. What did you and she make of that?
Well, we were ready to be offended till we discovered that in France, of course, they had the headline which said, didn't even name me. It said, Professor Duflo and her spouse. So then we decided it was quid pro quo. It was like
Indian nationalism meets French nationalism. I heard you're writing a book on cooking.
yeah.
What's this book about?
It's about how to cook a meal that will impress your guest when you have half an hour and not much at home.
You can't win a Nobel for a book on cooking, though.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, I think. That would be my only chance of getting a second Nobel would be on that book.
Wow, that's a good shot. I'm going to leave it over there. Professor Abhijit Banerjee, this has been so much fun.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best and
Thank
many
you.
congratulations on your Nobel once again.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you.